Pradyumna, thank you for kicking off the meeting last week and giving folks on walkthrough on how Nanda works and how to onboard. We have the few folks from India who have already onboarded their MCP servers. So we will start with thanking the volunteers, those who have volunteered to be part of this, and also, we have volunteers who are going to be taking notes on the question that people will ask. Those who are joining, please use the Q&A to ask your questions, and your questions will be answered at the end by or during the office hour by Pradyumna.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So Pradyumna, I will start promoting the people who will be doing demo.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, you can get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Uh, as Gargi mentioned, I think we are extremely grateful to all the volunteers uh, who are helping with making these events so successful. It's very, very great to see all the infectious energy from all you folks back in India. We've actually seen an increase in the number of. We've also seen uh, a number of uh, servers being already registered by folks after the call from last week. So it's very, very exciting, and we can't wait to see all the amazing MCP servers that you come up with as part of this Internet of Agents. We've also had a lot of you volunteer to be part of the open source project at Nanda. I think we've gotten back to a lot of you with steps to start getting onboarded with the open source. So all in all, extremely exciting. Uh, yeah, we're looking forward to we're looking forward to all the amazing stuff that will be going on along with you guys. So before I know we have Krish also on the call here. So before we get to the volunteers who will be talking about their Nanda services that they have onboarded onto the Nanda registry, I also just wanted to very, very quickly share my screen to uh, show you a glimpse of how the Nanda registry stands as it is today. So after the last call, we've had a bunch more services and servers being added to the Nanda registry across a range of domains, including uh, inventory, uh, insurance agents, sort of crypto assistants. I can see Krish's tool, but I think Krish will talk about it more just shortly. And tools ranging from agents for organizations such as for crew resource management, uh, sort of other kinds of services such as web scrapers. In this case, there's a LinkedIn job scraper, and yeah, so many other uh, uh, almost every cool thing that we can think of, folks have started building MCP and Nanda services based on those. And I'll go over this a bit more as I get to the office hours as well to take you through some ideas that we also have for new services and servers that we are also working on. So right now, I'll pause and maybe Gargi, Juby, maybe we can go to the volunteers to hear from them to start out with.
Yeah. So we can get started with Krishnendu. KD, do you want to start your demo? I don't see the other folks, those who have volunteered. They haven't joined yet, but we'll start with KD.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Am I audible, by the way? Perfect. Great. Happy to be here. I'm actually using two screens, so I'll be facing the camera very soon. So the quick thing that I'm very excited to show what I've been working on, and I my demo very specifically, I'm not focusing much on the nutrition side. My domain is not that, but what I'm going to show you, because I believe that everybody who has joined in, they know about what MCP server is or they have played around with it, right? I'm going to show you something which I have been thinking about, that Nanda is here, how to utilize Nanda. So Pradhiman, this is something you might have seen, but you might have already engineered with few folks, but this is something which I wanted to show you. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay. So let me know if you can see my screen. Oh, perfect. Great. Okay, so let's start with Nanda, right? Like I'm not going to talk again, I'm not going to talk about much of the MCPs. So Nanda, as you see over, yeah, Nanda, as you see that we have an explorer, a show of hand, how many of you have actually been to the server and understood the APIs? Any quick, show of hand of the participants? I can, from the attendees, any show of hand or anything. So I believe that a lot of people must have looked through the APIs which have been given there. So for the API, what you need to do is go to Nanda registry and you have the Swagger URL, read through them, right? Now, the thing is, we have all of this. We have MCP servers which are getting registered, right? So I have an MCP server registered over here. If I want to, people want to use an MCP server. So let's go to mine. We'll go to this. I have a verified thing. I go to my tool over here, which is verified. I get my SSE endpoint, and you can use it directly, right? So why Nanda and where Nanda will help? This is something which I have thought of, and Pradhaman, hopefully we can build up on top of it. MCP via, uh, sorry, MCP via NCP. What I have thought of is Monday Contact Protocol via Nanda Control Protocol. So what is Nanda Control Protocol? Nanda Control Protocol is completely a framework which I have thought of and designed upon Nanda API, and this is where we can grow it. And it can help any organization to focus on the verifiability, the reliability, and the availability. Why? So let's see. What really happens with MCP and why MCP? You have an MCP endpoint, you send a request, either your server is available, the SSE might be up or down, you don't know, because you have multiple. So as an organization, there could be multiple servers which are being right now being asked, right? So as a startup, if you are a startup, if you are an individual builder, you will try to get in touch with an organization, say that use my MCP server, I'm paying this and that. The organization say, well, good, perfect, come on to it. The thing is, the organization doesn't have that kind of resource, or they don't have a tool that will say that whether your MCP server is up or down, or whether it is to my relevance or not, right? So at one point of time, let's say everybody goes into it, and our organization says that, okay, I'm taking your MCP server, but when we are using it, it's not relevant. Sometimes it's not working. What do I do? Enter Nanda registry. Via MCP, you will see an MCP request and MCP response. Now, Nanda is going to take care of everything, whether the server is available or not, whether the server is relevant or not, and based on it, it is going to give me the response. So without further ado, like this is what I've thought of. So without further ado, let's do this. So I'm going to switch to two screen. This is where the MCP server is. So I'm going to show you, I don't know why is it coming up. I'm going to show you where my response hits onto a Docker container. And let me go to this. So over here, if you look into it, I'm going to not use any kind of a UI. I'm going to show you from the command prompt so that we can see how it works. So before that, let me tell you how I've designed it. So I've created something called a policy.json file, and this is where I'm saying it's a protocol. Now I have created a relevance score. All this information will be available in NANDA registry. So I'm going to have created this entire qualifier metric and I'm going to use it before calling my agent itself. So why? The thing is, my company says, hey, so let's say that Axon Robotics is a company and say that we want an MCP server from Krishnendra Dasgupta. However, whatever he's providing, the relevance score should be more than 0.5 and uptime should be more than 40%. That's it. It's a low cost, like in a solution that we're building, we can go with this kind of MCP servers. So now what will happen is, I'm actually showing it. So this is a chat which is controlled by the Action Robotics AI policy control group. Policy cluster is this. And then what I have done is the policy enforcement attribute. So verified, I'm saying it has to be verified. The attribute acceptable is the provider should be Krishna Dasgupta. The relevance score should be 0.5 and the uptime should be more than 40. Now, as policies are getting enforced, kindly wait will validate the verifiable MCP server as per your policy. Now it returns a nutrition and recipe assistant, which is again from the MCP server. The endpoint URL, now this is a quick thing and it's a good thing. I have not designed or anything where I'm defining my endpoint URL. Our URL is all registered in MCP. The moment it actually looks into it, it takes a URL, append the SSE and creates my endpoint URL automatically. And this is my relevance score. For example, it is 0.67 and my uptime has been 66%. So now it says policy reinforced tools are fetched as per policy, response is created as per verifiable trust scores. Machine intelligence will assist. Now there are two particular tools which are available, get nutrition, get recipe. So very quick thing over here, I'll just go ahead and say what is right? Now, when I do this, another thing is that this is again from a designing of your client that you want to send the entire query or you want to create. So from a privacy perspective, I would say that you should always look into the part of it where you take the context and just send the text. So anyway, so when I say what is the nutrition value of banana, let's see what is happening on my server side. So you can see that the call to request is working. Call to request is working and I'm using API ninjas over here and query banana and it says 200. Okay, perfect. Getting back over here, it says calling tool request get nutrition with query banana. It does not take the entire sentence, which is good because my question is about it. And then it sends me everything. Now, obviously, I'm using a test API, so I'm just showing everything which I'm getting. These are a few things which are available for a premium API user, but then I get all this information, right? Like 23, 22, and all of that, right? Now, let's say I want to quickly go away from it. And let's see what really happens if I change the policy. Right. So before I do that, if you remember, my score is 0.67 and uptime is 6x. I've created the acceptable value as 0.5. I'll go and change the policy. Now somebody, a policy director comes in or enforcement and says that, hey, we don't want, okay, Krish is a good provider, but we want something where the relevance is more than 90 and the uptime is more than 90%. So do I get to use my MCP server? Let's see what happens. Okay, so now if you look, policy enforced tools cannot be fetched at the policy. The response is on the trained data and previous learning of the machine intelligence. So basically, right now I'm using an Anthropic. So now if I ask, what is the nutrition right? So now if I go over here, nothing is happening. My MCP server is not getting hit. Whatever is happening is basically from like, from the source of the LLM, which is getting responded. Why this is important? Right now, if you look into it, the policy has been enforced, and that's why my MCP tool is not there. So that is more of the end of the demo. But before I hand it out back to Pradyuman and Gargi, I want to say something. Why is this is important, right? This is important in three cases. One, you as a startup, you as an organization, right? First, you as an organization, when I go back to this, you as an organization wants to make sure that whatever it is getting, you are paying somebody for this is, for example, this is Krish. So organization pays Krish for the work that, like saying an MCP server. But I want to make sure as an organization that I don't use the most verifiable, trustworthy, metric-based MCP servers. So I will be using that. You as a startup developer or me as a startup developer, my focus will be to make sure that my MCP servers are always uptime and everything. How do I do it? So think in this way that Nanda is going to be like a handshake protocol where it says that, hey, organization, you need an MCP server, and on this side, so it's startup, you have MCP servers, but organization has some policies, and we are taking care of that. And you tell the organization as an MC, like as a Nanda server, that hey, we have this entire thing ready. You set the policy, and we'll fetch it for you. So with that, that's all from my end, and thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you, KD. We have Rijo. Do you want to go ahead and do you have your power now, or you be able to talk through?
I have my power on my laptop at this point of time, but I still am struggling with my HPC, high performance computer, which means code will not be
Okay,
there.
we can then get back to you. I don't see the
Yes.
other two volunteers who had volunteered, Amrit and Sarvesh. If you guys are there, just ping me one-on-one so that I can promote you. Otherwise, while you start bringing it up, maybe we can start with our office hour with Dimna, and
Yes.
we can get started with you too, while
Absolutely.
Harijal.
Sounds good. Sounds good. First of all, thank you so much, Krishnendu. I think that was such a great demo. You showed so many uh, fun things, but what I really liked was you showed how modular the Nanda framework is, the Nanda architecture is. It looks like you also created a custom host for yourself. Uh, and that's amazing. So just like Krish did, I'm sure Krish used the public GitHub repos and was able to easily clone them and change them to add all the school functionality in a very short amount of time. I love that. I love that. So thank you so much for that demo. I think it showed so many more things than you spoke about also, which is the best kind of demo. Uh, awesome. So with that being said, let's start these office hours. So first off, I want to share a FAQ link with the group over here. Uh, Let me add this to the chat as well. So based on a lot of the questions that we got the previous time, last week when we had the session, we've gone ahead. Yeah, I think Juby has shared that on the chat as well. So please have a look at that FAQ link to hopefully get a clearer idea of what is Nanda, how is it different from some of the things that already exist, uh, what are the capabilities of Nanda. I think Krishnendu showed some very, very fun stuff in a very, very clean way. And so I'd encourage you to go over these frequently asked questions uh, and take it from there. So before I get started, uh, let me try to do another attempt at asking a question with the group here. How many of you have actually tried to set up a service on the Nanda registry? Or how many of you are actually trying or in the process of doing that? Can you raise your Zoom hands? Great. I can see a few. Uh, Right. Please do raise your Zoom hands so that we can get a sense of where folks are at. Because we've already seen a great response from all of you guys. from last time. Okay, I can see a large number of hands. So about 5 or 6 folks have raised their hands already. Uh, Amazing, amazing, amazing. Awesome. So, the goal I see from today's call would be to enable a lot of you uh, to reach that stage of having your service on the Nanda registry as soon as possible. And to help with that, uh, by the way, it would also be great to, yeah, feel free to ask your questions in the chat if you have any questions at any point of time. But what I'm going to be doing right now is to actually run you through some very, very easy steps to set up your first Nanda service or MCP server on the Nanda registry and take you through those initial steps. And at any point of time, if you have any questions, please add it to the chat. Please let me know if there are any particular steps uh, that are sort of hindering you in adding your service to the Nanda registry. And in some time, I'm sure we'll also ask you guys what kind of services you're planning to host, and we'll take it from there. So let me actually walk you through these instructions that we have to host your first Nanda service using MCP. So last time on call, we had shared this GitHub repo, AI Decentralized slash Nanda servers. We've actually gone ahead and created a comprehensive example case and README for folks to follow through, walk along with, and use to set up their first Nanda servers. So you can I dropped the link in the chat just now. So you can use this to follow along and basically see how this works. So uh, again, I had talked about this briefly last week, but this example is a very simple office supplies inventory Nanda server or an MCP server that you can very easily have set up and running very quickly and registered on the Nanda registry. So this example very simply uh, shows a simple inventory.csv file. Let me see if GitHub is able to show it nicely. Let me actually pull it up over here to show you. Uh, Great. Yeah, awesome. So let me share my screen again. So as I briefly touched upon last time, this example GitHub repo that we've shown to help you set up your first uh, service on the Nanda registry pertains to a very simple CSV lookup essentially. So in this case, it's a simple office supplies inventory file that has different kinds of items, different categories of items, uh, and all of these different fields. And the the sort of MCP server that wraps around this CSV file is extremely straightforward. It basically just does two things. It has two tools down here. The first is just get a list of items from this MCP server. Uh, so basically just do a query on the item name column and it will return all the items that are available. And the second is given a particular item, just query that item name and then find all the attributes for that item. So for example, if I ask about the desk lamp, then my LLM or my host would have access to what's the quantity of this lamp or what's the category of this lamp and so on and so forth. So the amazing part about this MCP server is that first of all, you can just clone this GitHub repository locally. We've given all the steps over here, so you can do a git clone, uh, change into the appropriate directory. After you clone it, uh, create a simple virtual environment. You can either do it using a Python VM, or if you are more comfortable with Conda, you can do a simple Conda environment. uh, I recommend using Python 3.11 just to have consistency with all the dependencies that you may have. And then that's about it. Once you have that running, you can have this Python Office Supply server up and running. And uh, so clone it, run the environment, and you should be able to have it all good to go from the get-go. So to actually show you, I have actually, let me go back. CD of inventory, and let me actually show you. So over here, I have my terminal of it, obviously, and I have gone ahead and followed all of these steps. So I've cloned the repository, I've gone into the relevant directory, I've created a Conda environment, I've installed the requirements, and now I'm good to uh, actually run this office supplies inventory. Just to show you how straightforward it is to have your first MCP server up and running. Uh, we'll just wait for the server to spool up. In the meantime, on the other terminal, I will go ahead and run what's called the MCP inspector, which will allow you to actually test out your server's functionality uh, before you even host it on a public endpoint. So here I have my office supplies inventory server running on localhost. So it's running on this system over here locally. If I go to localhost, I can see that the server is running, all good. And then MCP inspector is like a debugger that you can use to ensure that your uh, service is running per expectation, everything is working as you'd like it to work. So if I connect to the MCP inspector over here, I can see that it's able to connect via my localhost endpoint. This can also be used to connect to public endpoints. Then if I list tools, I can see the two tools that my Office Supplies server has listed out. And if I run get items, you can see that it returns a list of items that are available to this Office Supplies server. And I can also try out the second tool, which is give it a particular item. And if I run the tool, it gives me all the attributes for that item. So this is an extremely simple MCP or Nanda server that is, the code is given to you. All you have to do is git clone, run it locally, and test it out using the MCP inspector. And as you can see, it works out of the box. Uh, and it is good to go to host publicly. So you could have this be your first MCP or Nanda server on the Nanda registry, but you could also change this. So for example, you could have your own CSV file for some topic that you are interested in. And as long as it follows this particular format over here, actually the code that we've given you will work out of the box directly to create an MCP server with your inventory.csv file. But you can also do your own different inventory files. You can wrap around API calls as Krishnendu had shown with a very simple API call, and you can go from there. In order to deploy on the Nanda registry, and make your Nanda service, your MCP server publicly available to all the folks out there all around the world. An important step is first to deploy it on a public endpoint. So we have also given some easy steps in this case to deploy on an AWS App Runner endpoint, if you're familiar that way. But really, it can be any endpoint. It can be a railway endpoint. It can be some other free service. It can be AWS. It can be Google Cloud, whatever you are most comfortable with. As long as it's a publicly accessible endpoint, it'll work with another registry. So in this case, you can run through these steps on this GitHub repository to also set up your AWS account, uh, create an AWS App Runner service, configure the service. So have the build and run commands. Very important to configure the port since this is communicating via uh, server-side events. Uh, I see a few questions in the chat, so I'll get to that very, very shortly. We also have what do you call it? We can deploy, wait for completion, test for public endpoints, and test the endpoint via the MCP inspector. And once everything is good to go and you have a working public endpoint, then you can just go to the Nanda registry. So you can go to ui.nandaregistry.com. You can log in. So let me actually try to log in here. And you can actually go to my servers and you can register in your server. So we have those steps down here as well. So you go to Nanda registry, log in, register in your server. You fill in some of the basic details. So the server name, the slug, a good description of what your server does so that people can easily find it. Very important, the server URL. So this would be the public endpoint that you create for your service. Remember not to add the /SSEO here, only to add the root. And if you add the root, then the registry takes care of adding the /SSE and providing access to your service. So you can do all of that. Let me actually fill in some random stuff over here so I can show you how the registration process works. You can decide whether this is an agent, resource, tool, or a combination of those. Then, oh, there should be an HTTP URL. So actually, let me just put something simple over here. Just because the registry also does a check for whether this is actually a working endpoint, and only then it allows it to add to the registry. Uh, you can decide whether your service requires any kind of authentication, it has any kind of rate limits, just to make it aware to folks who are using it. And then you can review everything. And if you have valid endpoints, if you hit register service, then this will be good to go. And you would have your first Nanda service up and running. So as I mentioned, it's that straightforward. You can actually use this uh, GitHub repository to or this README file to walk you through it step by step. We also have a YouTube video for this, which I'll also post in the chat. Let's see how fast it is to open. But let me also post the link to this YouTube video that we have over here that you can basically use to run you through the various steps of adding your first MCP server to the Nanda registry from scratch until end. So this is where I'll kind of pause to start taking some of the questions. And great, 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 great. So I'll pause over here. I see a bunch of questions already. So while I'm taking all of these questions, it would be great if folks could add in the chat about what stage they are at with posting their services on the Nanda registry. If they're facing some specific kind of issues, some particular questions that they'd like answered, please do add it in the chat, and we'd be very happy to help you through that. So in the meantime, let me start taking some of the questions. So I can see some questions on contributors. So Ankur is asking how he can contribute as a beginner to the SDK team. I think, Ankur, we've sent you an email with initial steps. Uh, Yeah, so one of the initial onboarding steps is to register an MCP server on the registry, just so we know you understand MCP and you know how things work. You don't need to build your own AI agent. You can also take there are almost 5,000 MCP servers that exist out there as GitHub repositories. You can take some of those, you can translate that to uh, so that it works with the NANDA registry, and the change that you need to make is transfer it from a STDIO transport protocol to an SSE transport protocol and just register it on the NANDA registry and do that, host it on the registry, and that will tell us that you understand the basic operation of the registry, the services and servers, and the host and the interaction between all of these that enable Nanda operation. So go from there and we can take it from there. Uh, so feel free to do that and get started from there. Uh, what other questions? We have Lakshman's question on whether this code will also work on Windows. Yes, actually, this will work on Windows. So if you see the README file that I just linked in the chat below, wherever there's a Windows specific command, we've also included those. So you should be able to use this to set up your uh, MCP or Nanda service first locally on Windows and then host it on a public endpoint and go from there. So in the end, you would be hosting it via public endpoint using some cloud service provider. And these are usually Linux or Unix based terminal commands to host them. So you would use those commands that have been given in the README. But absolutely, as you're building your service, testing it out locally, and if you're doing it on Windows, we have those specific commands for you in the GitHub repository over there. So let me actually share that on the chat once more, this README file, and please feel free to go through it. Oops, just a second. This one. Um, this one over here. So yeah, feel free to go through the steps over here. It also has Windows specific commands wherever required. And if you face some specific issue, then let us know. Maybe you can try doing it right now so that while we are on call, you can figure out some of these issues.
Pradyumna, there are a couple of questions on the authentication and the security. One from Praveen, another from
Yeah,
Chandramurli.
absolutely. Let me take those right now. So let's see. Yeah, great. So Praveen's question is, how can we handle authentication? So if your MCP server requires some kind of authentication, I would imagine you mean some kind of API key. How would that work? So so the protocol itself allows for that within what do you call it? The MCP schema itself. Right now, the host that we've provided, the publicly available host, actually does not allow for API keys currently, and we are working on improving that right now. But your service endpoint itself can ask for an API key from the server. So two ways in which people have currently already deployed services via the host that we've provided to use API keys is they actually ask for the API key via the chat interface, which is not entirely safe. So that maybe is not the best way to go about it as part of the service step. But right now, what you could do is add it from your end via n variables. And very soon, we'll actually, in a couple of days, be rolling out a version of the host that also allows for API keys to be added. Actually, let me actually check out. Have we already rolled out that version of the host. Actually, we already have that version of the host. Ignore all that I said in the last 1 minute and let me share my screen. So we did roll out this version of the host recently. Just changes are happening so fast that even I didn't keep track of it. All right. So if you define your MCP server to have some kind of API or access control, in this case, via an API key, the Nanda host can actually allow for tool level credentials. So all the tools that require API keys or any other credentials to function, if you go to host.nandaregistry.com, the host on the front end allows for uh, tool credentials to actually be specified in the form of API keys. And these API keys are stored on the browser of the user. So they're pretty secure. And these can be passed on directly to the tool to allow for access to any API specific services. So the host actually allows for API keys. So access control right now is via API keys. And yeah, the host allows for it. So feel free, as long as you design an MCP server that is appropriately asking for an API key, uh, the host should be able to recognize that and make that visible to the user via the host frontend interface. Hope that answers your question. Let me know if you want to uh, ask a follow-up. Uh, I'll get back to the second question on authentication from Chandramouli. Satya, but before that, very, very quickly, Satya has a question on, can you provide the links to the repository where AI agents are already present? Not entirely sure what you mean. If you mean a repository of uh, all of the servers and services that are already present on the Nanda registry, and among which some of those are agent-based services, then here's the link of those servers and services. So actually, if you can also use this repo to see what are the MCP and Nanda services that folks have already deployed. And if you want to see how agent-based or API keys-based services have been deployed, you can use this to help guide you uh, in building your first MCP server. So hopefully
Okay,
this.
Dimna, so if there was anything unclear about the question, we could promote the speaker as panelist so they can ask it live. Do you
Perfectly.
know who was the name?
Uh, actually, it was Satya, I think.
Satya Reddy.
Yeah,
Okay, Chandramali, could you please promote or allow them to talk so they can pose the question themselves?
great. In the meantime,
Okay, I don't see the attendance
oh,
list.
let me actually do that. Satya. Great. Satya, you can talk right now. If you just wanted to, did I answer your question or were you asking something else that I didn't understand correctly?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Satya. Actually, my question was that uh, while answering one of the question, right, you said that you can try to understand the basics of the protocols, like you can convert the existing some SCDIO to the Nanda-based protocol.
Very good. Yeah.
So in that context, I have added that question so
I
that it
understand.
will give us the basics of that, so that it will help in future a lot.
So what I was talking about back there is if you go to a website like mcp.so, which is in the chat, this is an aggregator of a lot of different kinds of MCP servers that are already existing out there. Almost, how many are there right now? Almost 10,000 today, of 10,000 MCP servers that exist out there that are doing various different kinds of uh, tasks and yeah, MCP servers to do absolutely whatever you want. So for example, uh, to give you a simple example of how you can use this, let me very quickly actually open this up and run you through how this works. So just a second as I'm setting up my browser over here. Okay, great. So let me share my screen very quickly. Awesome. So if you go to mcp.so over here, this is a bunch of MCP servers that exist out there already. Now, what you'll notice for all of these MCP servers is vast majority of these MCP servers are actually GitHub repositories. So these are GitHub repositories that you will have to uh, locally host and run uh, on your service to make it operational with, uh, let's say your local cloud client or cloud host. So let me see. Uh, so for example, here's a Blender MCP server, which is actually very, very famous. Let me look this up on Google, GitHub. And Blender, if you don't know, is a uh, what do you call it? It's a 3D rendering service that allows you to create 3D models. It can look very, very nice. And this MCP server uh, allows Blender to interface with the Cloud client, Cloud desktop. So now you can actually, if you look at how this MCP server works, if you go to I have not actually worked with this MCP server, but if you go over how this works, this will actually be using, it's obviously running on localhost and it will be using STDIO transport protocol, uh, just as a result of the fact that it is running locally, which is what a vast majority of MCP servers are using. So what you would have to do, this is actually a massive server. And by the way, this is also an example of a server that allows you to set API keys. So you can use this as a uh, running example to guide you. But basically, if you pull up any of these existing MCP servers that exist out there on mcp.so, so for example, I have played around with the Spotify MCP server over here, which again uses STDIO transport protocol. And all you have to do is change that into SSE, and you can essentially you can use whatever tools you want. You can use something like Claude as well, and tell it to take this MCP server written with STDIO, transfer it to SSE. Claude does that very, very well. And if you do that, then this would be an MCP server that is directly hostable via Nanda. The only thing that you need to do is uh, uh, change the transport protocol from STDI to SSE. So actually, I have a simple example. So it's difficult to find where they're defining the transport protocols in these repositories, but let me actually pull up this very simple, where do I go? Yeah, decentralized Nanda servers. Very simple Nanda server that we have up on the registry already. So this one, I'll drop the link very shortly in the chat. But this Nanda service, maybe you can have a look at to see how they're handling different kinds of transport protocols. Uh, they were here. Great. So this is actually an archive. If you know what archive is, it's this uh, aggregator of open source publications. And as part of the Nanda registry, we have this service up and running on the registry that allows folks to look up on archive papers, search papers, find relevant papers, and so on and so forth. So we have this service up and running on the Nanda registry. And this is a great example to see how you can use different kinds of transport protocols to run it either locally or on a public endpoint. So when you're running this MCP server on another service, for example, this server that has been written actually allows for the user to choose whether they want to use an SSC-based transport protocol, and this is how you would initialize it using Starlet app, or you can use an STDIO-based transport protocol, and this is how you would initialize it. So I've added the link to this MCP server in the chat, and you can use this as an example to see how SSC-based MCP servers can be deployed and how STDIO-based MCP servers can be deployed. And this is basically the difference. So if you can find the protocol initialization command and just replace it with ones that are associated with SSC, you should be good to go to be running on uh, the Nanda registry and be publicly hosted. Hope that answers your question, Satya.
Yeah. Thanks for answering that question.
Awesome. So let me quickly take, I think there are a bunch of more questions on the Q&A. So let me take some of those quickly.
Yeah, I can give you two summaries, Pradyumna,
Yeah. I
if
also
that helps,
see that
right?
your question is also there, Chandni. So maybe we can start from
That's
that.
fine. So there is a related one, so maybe you can combine and answer them both, right? The other question is around understanding how agent to agent exchange accountability and verification protocols will work in Nanda,
Yeah.
right? And I think that as a part of that, you will cover the security measures.
Absolutely. So, all of this is just as a top end. All of this is very work in progress right now. So we have built the protocol level frameworks for this, but we are still working on incorporating this in various aspects of the uh, Nanda registry and so on and so forth. So, but let me talk to you about what exists right now and how we envision agent to agent reputation, accountability, identity, all that fun stuff to work with Nanda as it stands right now. So let me actually share a very quick slide, which I have opened somewhere. Just a second. Where is the slide? And by the way, I would encourage you to read through the frequently asked questions that we've shared as well. I think a lot of these questions are answered in some form or the other on the FAQ. But let me very quickly answer this question on how agent to agent verification and trust works in Nanda. So So the way to think about Nanda is a protocol and infrastructure level scaffolding that our protocol schema and that our registry provides for folks. And really, what we provide is the basic building blocks for identity, verification, accountability, all that stuff. And we expect end users to leverage this. Like, for example, the example that Chris showed, where Chris leveraged aspects such as reputation and verification to decide how he would like to interact with the MCP or Nanda servers that exist on the registry. So the mental model over here is that the Nanda protocol and infrastructure provides the fundamental framework for identity, for certification, which exists at the protocol and at the registry level. And you, as the end user, when you are designing your services, can take use of these aspects the best you like. So, for example, the Nanda protocol itself has this, and you can let me add this link in the chat as well if you are inclined to read through the protocol specification in more detail. But this is oh, PS. Use the second link, please. This is the protocol specification for Nanda. Now, Nanda takes care of identity and verification in several ways right now, and these are still in the process of developing. One fundamental format of identity is via identity certificates. So every MCP server that is registered via the Nanda registry actually gets an identity specific, let's call it a key from the server. So every MCP server that you register via Nanda, via the registry, gets a key back from the server that indicates that, oh, this is the service, uh, and this is the service that has been registered with another registry. And in fact, once you register your server via the registry, let me actually go to my registered servers. Where are my registered servers? My servers. So once you register your server, you can actually view and you can actually request verification. So what this means is we have an entire process of verification of server. So this is the unique identifier key for my particular Nanda service that the registry has provided for me, which is my identifier in the Internet of Agents. Now I can use this identifier to get my service verified by the registry. And what this means is that, let's say I have a Pradyumna service running on the registry. I can follow one of these three steps to either add a verification.txt on my route or do some kind of DNS verification or meta tag verification, whatever be it. And if I follow any one of these three, then actually the registry affirms my identity. So the registry enables any person who is querying my MCP server through the registry to actually see that this MCP server is verified. These people are who they are talking about, and you can have a baseline level of trust with them. Other than that, the registry also provides for two kinds of reputation. The registry and the protocol actually provides for two kinds of reputation. One is, of course, the human reputation rating score that folks can rate different servers based on their usage. And this reputation is actually accessible via the protocol as well as via the registry API endpoint. So if you go to nanda.mit.edu and if you go to the documentation over here, and if you go to the Swagger UI for the API documentation, you can scroll through this and you should be having, uh, you have this thing about popular services. There should also be endpoints that allow you to get ratings for services. And these allow you to see how different services have been rated as per their operation uh, to decide which are trustworthy services and which are not trustworthy services. So again, there are also other kinds of support at the protocol level that Nanda allows. So one of those things is this idea of coupons. So whenever there are agent to agent transactions, we allow for coupons to be shared between these transactions, and these coupons can be shared on the server side. So every server can share signed coupons about their own transactions, which are signed by themselves and the folks that they have talked with. And these can be simple ratings, these can be natural language reviews of the service, and these can be aggregated server side. And this is what the Nanda protocol allows for. And on top of this, we believe you guys can come and use these basic functionalities that the protocol allows for. Basic but very strong functionality like verification, human reputation, coupons for transactions, and build services on top of these to build good recommendation engines, to build good search engines. We've of course built the first one, but we hope that folks can come on board and build better ones. I'll pause here. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I think there is one that asks how they can contribute as a beginner to the SDK team.
Yeah. So I think where is this? This is Ankur, right? I think I already answered Ankur's question. Ankur has also mailed me. So there are a few steps. So if you've signed up to be a contributor on the open source project, we've given you a few initial tasks. One of them is to actually deploy your first MCP server on the Nanda registry. And hopefully, once you do that, once you understand how this works, you can move on to the next steps. We'll reach out to you. There's a Google form that you fill out as well. Uh, Krishnendu, I
Yeah.
think you wanted to say something on the API side.
Hey, yeah. So I thought you were explaining that entire stuff on the MCP protocol. So I thought why don't I show them? So I'm going to also, show the response, right? I'm going to print that. So just a minute, I'm going to put that on my screen is visible, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So in our previous, like the demo, what we did was to run this, right? So again, as we created this protocol and we have set this protocol to work on 0.5, now this is what I'm getting from the response URL. So if you look into it, right now, my type has been defined as a tool. So for example, as an organization, you want the tools to be there from a provider, or specifically the way how I'm choosing this particular MCP server, according to my protocol, that they should be part of nutrition, food, or anything. And then if you look into it, there are certain values that you can use to make sure that you use in your verifiability. But then one of the things that we can look into it is that my verification should be true. So if you look into it, the verified true section has to be. So if it is verified, then only this entire data is getting respond from the particular URL of Nanda. So if it is verified, then only it says that, okay, I'm going to, take this service. So this is again one of the things which is going to be very useful when you build your service. So one of the thing is when you connect to Nanda, you get verified, but then how do you make sure that the people who are using or the organization who are using your server, they can actually use Nanda, right? The way I am doing, because this is client, I'm showing the client, right? So from Nanda, I am going to use this particular thing by specifying that only those which are verified should be there. And if you look into it, it says verified is going to be true, and that's why I'm fetching this. So there are multiple other, so Prathaman, just a quick thing, there will be multiple other format or multiple other metrics as well, right? For example, what is the response time and everything. And if we have more and more those kind of a thing, it will be more like a qualifying metric for us. Correct?
Absolutely. I think it already has, for example, uptime, what fraction
Yeah,
of the servers are up, response
exactly.
times, so sort of local logs essentially. So the registry allows for all of this. Servers can log their own specific things as well, and the protocol allows for all of this to be transmitted also. So really, you can think of the Nanda protocol and the Nanda registry as doing fundamental analytics, and you can use the
Exactly.
analytics to do whatever you want. And I think Krish, you've shown it very, very well over here in terms
Yeah.
of.
And exactly. And I will just for people who have missed it again, so if you right now, if you can see this is what is coming in my response protocol, right? So my uptime is 66 and rating. So anyway, I'm putting it over here, but I wanted to show you from the response. Now, if I go back and kind of change it to, again, the relevant score to 0.95, and again, if I change it to, let's say 90, right, in my policy document of protocol, and if I want to run it again, this time, if you look into it, uh, this is my response, but then I am getting a response because I'm fetching for all the one which are for nutrition. But then according to my policy, I am not meeting it, right? It says 0.95, my uptime is 66, and it says 90. My acceptable policy says my relevant score should be 0.95, where I have 0.67. So obviously it says the tools cannot be fetched as per the policy. So I believe this is also a way, what people were asking, that how do you, like, once you have created your verifiable or trust model, how do you actually utilize it? So this is more from applied side. So one is that you do it from a server side when you build a server, but then most of the other thing will happen that how do you utilize Nanda server? So this is what I thought like quickly showing.
Amazing, amazing. Uh, just also replying to some questions on the chat in the meantime. Uh, Great.
Meantime, I think Rijul has joined, and he has also worked on the registering his MCP servers. Do you want to go ahead, Rijul?
Actually, I would like to share my experience first. Currently, as discussed with Gagi ma'am, I'm still having some power trips, and so it's not easy to spin up my own HPC. So I will be first sharing the context in which I came in contact with MCP and Nanda servers. By training, I'm a biotech person. My main job was to put genetic programs inside E. coli and watch them grow in tanks, large tanks. Initial days, it was not that much of interesting, just doing wet lab and only to find out if it is working or not. Later, I went into bioinformatics and I got introduced to a lot of tools like, let me share my screen. DDBJ or S, SIB or N, NIH servers. So there were a lot of tools. Now, if I have to do some analysis, I have to actually go to multiple websites, do those analysis, and then download them, upload them to another website and all. And it will take a lot of time. Honestly, it will take a lot of time, so that was eating a lot of resources in my research work. So then I started automating these things with AI agents, and I started sharing them to my friends and peers in my research. At one point of time, what happened is it became a popular common resource in my lab, and everybody wanted it to be hosted in our college lab. So then I actually spun up a fast API server initially and later an MCP server. So this is how everything started. Now what is the stage is, even my professors and seniors wanted to use it in their research, who are not in my college at this point of time, and they are concerned about the authority and security. That's where one of my seniors in college, who is currently in UCL, came in and recommended me that you should try Nanda, and they're doing authentication and security. And that's how I started aggregating and integrating Nanda into my workflow. Currently, it is going to become a Canva for biologists and bioinformatics people. It has got one endpoint for Blender to render protein structures, another to do multiple sequence alignment or FASTQ analysis or gene plots from Matplotlib. A lot of things are in the pipeline. The only thing is, in the instance I'm running is running on my own PC, which is a RTX 3060 with 64 GB RAM. That is the primary development server, and another server is running in my college, which is a production server. Currently, due to power trips, that home server is down, and I'm joining with my laptop. So I would. This is the only part I would like to. I would be able to share, and later I would actually expose it to the Nanda registry and let everybody enjoy the fruits of our labor. Any questions?
Amazing, amazing. I think thanks so much for describing that.
Sorry, Aj, you know, Indian power lines
No,
sometimes.
completely understand. I mean, to be honest, sometimes even American power lines are like that. So I
Texas.
have to specify that. In fact, when I was living in California for a while, I had more power cuts in LA in a day than I had in Mumbai in a year. So we should
It
not have
happens.
more power cuts. uh,
Plus, you see things go up in fire.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So the
Krishna,
only thing I would like to ask from the community is, the product is too big. It's just like a whole Canva for bioinformatics and dry lab analysis. So it is a very big thing. Only two people working for 2 to 4 hours per day. It's not that easy. So if somebody wants to join us and contribute to the project, currently we are doing the product management and reorganizing the whole repo so that it can be extensible and contributed by a large community. So they are welcome. I'm actually open to towards large collaborations.
Awesome. Krishnendu, I don't know if you wanted to add something.
Yes, so there, thank you, Vijay. So there is a quick question, and I think we need to take that up as well because I think we kind of missed that out. Let me read out to you. So the gist of the question is also similar to what I have also kind of been asked when I was speaking about Nanda servers to my community. So the thing is that as we see Nanda server today, right? Like it's more of a centrally managed from you, and we are accessing the protocol, we are accessing the service. So again, from an organization perspective, from a large organization perspective, can, since Nanda is all open source, can the entire instance of Nanda be hosted inside an organization? And let me give you a context because let's say if it is a private, for example, Unilever, company like Shell Corporation, they have multiple countries they operate to. Now, let's say each of these countries, they have their own ecosystem, right? So even for companies like Salesforce or Azure, they have deployed their own
Unofficial
ecosystem stuff.
Krishnananda, unofficially, I shouldn't be saying this. Unofficially, somebody from Zifo UK is hosting it inside their private infrastructure and testing it. So he's one of my senior's roommate who works for Zifo, and he's a senior DevOps engineer. He's hosting it inside his organization and testing it in a private manner, unofficial manner. So it has access control, and he's doing very secret private testing inside his team and testing if it is useful for them or not. So I'm also listening to him, and he's guiding me in the DevOps part. I'm not that much of a big coder type, but I just managed to combine.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Vijay.
I'm mostly doing
So,
the product management and feature development in some way.
okay. Thank you, Vijay. So Pradhuman, what the question is about that, from privately, can you host the entire Nanda instance privately? So
Yeah, yeah.
that, and this is something which I think we can do it because if you can address it, right? Like for big companies, it is required, right? Like, there are multiple uh, department of the same company that they will interact, right, to the registry before they actually, for the GST team might interact with something before the clearance, right? And that sits inside a particular organizational instance of it. So can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, one of our partner companies who launched with us is already actually doing this. So I kind of answered this question in the Q&A, but it's great that you brought it up also because I think so. Just so let me rephrase restate the question to ensure I'm answering all the relevant points. But the point is, can a big company host their own version of the registry where they can decide almost have like an intranet of agents for their company where agents are only internally visible while also potentially leveraging some agents that are on the public internet at the same time depending on their tasks, and absolutely this is possible. So the code for the Nanda registry is public. Anyone can clone the registry. Let me actually drop that code in the chat as well. Anyone can clone the registry, anyone can clone that repository and modify it. So in fact, one of the partner companies, partner big tech companies that launched with us have actually cloned the Nanda registry and hosted it within their ecosystem. So the way they use the registry is to have some of their internal agents on the registry that they don't want to be publicly accessible so that their various teams can have access to it, but also do access control on as part of the registry and the synchronization so that some of the externally available agents are also available to them. So all of this is possible. Let me share the uh, GitHub repository for the Nanda registry in the chat over here, and folks can actually clone and host it right now. So of course, we've intentionally not provided all of these facilities on our end because every company will have its own requirements in terms of how they want to do access control, whether they want to access external agents, whether they do not want to access external agents. So you can use this as a starting point, this publicly available registry backend code, and you can fork it, modify it, and host it within your intranet as you feel fit. People are already doing it.
Well, I think this will be very much important, supposedly for the Indian launch, that Nanda has internet and Nanda has intranet as well. I think
Absolutely.
that this is going to be very, very important, especially for consumer tech company, healthcare company, where they don't want to send it, but they still want to interact with large teams. So I think this is great. Thank you, Pradhan, for taking that.
Absolutely. And I think Krishnendu and I were discussing in the chat over here, but given that I know a bunch of folks also have like deep technical questions on the protocol level as well. So just because of length of the call and we have a variety of questions, we are unable to go too deep in the call, but rest assured, we are working on a deep dive video that should be up by the end of the weekend. That will go much deeper into the protocol specification, the registry, sort of endpoints, all of the analytics that are available on the registry right now. We'll give you a sneak peek at the SDK that we are working on as well, which will be up and running within the next 7 days. So stay tuned for a video that should be up and hosted by the end of Sunday, hopefully by Monday, and that will go much deeper into a lot of the technical aspects as well. For folks who are interested.
Amazing.
All right.
Great.
I don't see any more question, and I do see Rajesh has his hands up. I don't know whether it was from the earlier. Do you have a question, Rajesh?
Let me
If
allow Rajesh.
you
Yeah.
No, actually, that was from the earlier side, but I did post one question. So I think you answered it now. It was related to having it private. For
Yeah.
example, for example, if someone wants to host their MCP servers on Nanda, and if I don't want to give access, or if I want to restrict the access to a certain set of users, then is that possible now?
So, yeah, I think that's exactly the question that we were discussing with Krishna
Mhm.
right now. So, right now in the registry that is publicly available, of course, it's not the case right now because, and it's intentional because of we want the first set of services to be broadly available to everyone on this global registry and easily accessible. However, as we discussed earlier, there does exist some access control via API keys and stuff like that. So not anyone can access or use your service if you desire for it to be that way. Uh, but if you want very specific forms of access control between specific forms of groups, then the fastest way, as at this stage, since we are in rapid open source development phase, is to clone your version of the registry, host it, build in the access controls that you specifically want, and have that running. So that's the stage we are at right now. Uh, uh, I would expect like some fine-grained access control options to also be available on the registry moving forward, but we would really prefer for a lot of this to be done from the users because they best know the specific use cases that they desire.
Yeah, got it, Pradunya. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely right.
all right. I think that's a wrap. I don't see any question. If anyone else has question, you can raise your hand and then
Yeah.
we can promote you. I see that.
I think Shantanu and I also wanted to seed some ideas to the group as they are building their MCP servers and Nanda servers. I don't know, Shantanu, are you able to speak? Did you want to
I'm
see?
here. I'm here for another 6 minutes. The class is just about starting.
Okay, great. Did you just want to set up what we were discussing
Yeah,
last
set
time?
up. Yeah, why don't you start? We spoke about it this morning or last night. Why don't you start with the idea? Then I can chime in.
Yeah. So I think one of the strongest things that MCP or Nanda allows for is the ability to really host servers and services for things that already exist here very, very easily. So one of the very interesting things that Shantanu and I and Ayush, who's one of the amazing grad students in our lab, have been thinking about is how can we, uh, you know, interact with the local business ecosystem here we have in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and kickstart that by using the strength and power of Nanda. So one of the things that we are actively working on right now is to look at all of these restaurants that are available locally in the Cambridge area. We have about 10, 20 very nice restaurants. And we are actually going to be going ahead and creating Nanda servers for all of these restaurants for their menus. And what is amazing about this is once we create Nanda servers for all these restaurants, which is very, very straightforward, it should take no more than 30 minutes. If you look at the video that we have hosted up there, we can now start doing very, very cool things. So folks who want to order particular dishes, for example, can go via the Nanda host and have visibility to all of these tens of Nanda services for these restaurants and very easily have access to their menus via an agentic chatbot that is also able to reason across restaurants. So you can just imagine how many cool applications that will be possible by just deploying Nanda servers or MCP servers on the Nanda registry for all of these simple services that already exist and open up new business avenues such as cross-restaurant optimization, so much easier visibility for restaurants, uh, search via complex use cases such as dish or price bracket, and all of these amazing things that Nanda and agent-to-agent interactions can enable. I know, Shantanu, if you want to add onto that.
No, that you said it right. So think of this thing, right? One of the use cases that we were struggling with here, and that's what prompted it, is that at lunchtime, we have very limited time to go and pick up our lunch. You can order, you can go pick up, and some places will have a wait time of 5 minutes, some places will have a wait time of half an hour. So can you optimize based on your location and based on the time of lunch? Cross restaurants. And instead of going and checking out multiple restaurants, can you just go to the right one, pick it up, and come back to work, right? I'm sure in the tech hubs of Bangalore, similar problems exist. If I used to work in Eco World, and some restaurants will have a 5 minute wait time, some restaurants may take half an hour. So we're building this cool app to optimize our lunchtime or lunch pickup time at lunch pickup time at lunchtime. But many cool applications can exist in the Indian context. So imagination is the only limitation. Some of you may have, for example, personal connections with a POS, point of sales maker. You may be able to access that information, and you may be able to access the menu and so on and so off, right? So if some of you can come back with an idea or with ideas for the next office hours we have, we can discuss them and see how much of it is feasible and how to build it. Two hands went up, Rijul and Rajesh. Is that a pre-hand or a current hand?
I think
Uh,
Rajesh.
Mine is live. Actually, I wanted to have a conversation around payment safety and security, just like UPI. Do we have a UPI type gateway in Nanda so that what we can do is, due to the antitrust lawsuits which are going against Google and all, the monopoly is breaking. A lot of personal assistants and personal agents will pop up in our mobile devices and edge devices, and they need Nanda to interact with Zepto, Swiggy, Zomato, and initiate these meal checks and all. And as they reside in our mobiles, they know more about our diets and medical conditions and all. So they can become our virtual assistants on our phone and do things on our behalf, just like our moms at our home. So that can be an usage. And later, when robots become cheap, they can also get integrated into Nanda. The physical and the cyber gets unified. So my second question was: can edge devices also interact with Nanda servers like IoT? Is it enabled or not, or possible or not?
I can take both the questions actually very quickly. So first on the edge devices, yeah, nothing stops as long as they can be connected via publicly available endpoint. So they should be just visible on the web via an endpoint, then they can have their own Nanda servers. Absolutely possible. We don't have that yet. Actually, that would be a very cool application for someone to work on. Have an edge device as a Nanda server for maybe home automation or something like that. It would be very, very cool. On the question of payments, we are actively working on integrating payments within Nanda very seamlessly. Actually, payments are already possible to some extent right now between agents. So the way we've designed the Nanda communication protocol or schema is for it to be extremely general in terms of the fields that get transmitted. So one of the things that is possible when an agent A is communicating with agent B is before the agent offers its service, it can actually send, for example, uh, a source to a Stripe API or something like that, that can allow agent B to pay agent A via the Stripe API based by signing in with their keys. So this is already possible, but of course there are so many more things that can be possible with payments in the Nanda ecosystem, and
Like
we are
bargaining and bidding.
yeah, absolutely. And all those things, bidding is a very good example. We are actively thinking about all of these things. They will be incorporated uh, uh, very, very soon within the Nanda ecosystem. So I think all of these are also functions of scale. So as and when more of you start joining into the Nanda ecosystem, again, this is an open source project. So we as first adopters, sort of first movers on this paradigm of Internet of Agents are going to be the folks who break new ground, find new ways to use existing systems that are catered to this Internet of Agents. So, yeah, as you guys deploy your servers and services on the Nanda registry and start doing communication, transaction, interactions, these new use cases will come up. And we, as part of this group, will be the folks to incorporate it into the Nanda code base as well. So it's a very, very exciting time. We are at the forefront of sort of building this Internet of Agents from first principles. So yeah, it's all very, very exciting.
Yeah. With that, I think we have planned for some of the hackathons. We will be announcing the next office hour and the hackathon plan very soon. We'll be working out on the plan for the hackathon, and I think we have got a lot of people who are have shown interest from various areas, not only from the coding, from the AI side, but there are product managers, project managers. So we need everybody. Stay tuned for the upcoming events.
Awesome.
If there is no more hands, I don't see any more hand. I think Rajesh's hand is still up from before.
I think
Anything else from you?
Krishnendu raised his hand again.
Okay.
Hey, so very quickly, Pradyuman, so what I was thinking as well, right? Like in the next office hours, because today what I showed was how we are enforcing policy ecosystem. In the next office hours, I was thinking that I can show a very complex thing, but it totally depends that if we can take it offline and just talk about it. But I was just thinking to show from a disease network because I work on the clinical trial decentralization clinical trial recommendation system. So I was thinking that maybe we can show a complex thing and break down to it. So for example, India today, if you look into rarediseases.net for India, rare disease platform for India is not that very great. So I have been thinking to redesign and give it out as a social thing as well. But through Nanda, what I can do is that, let's say that which of these, for example, TIS or Tata Cancer Research Center, they have a certain aspect for for rare diseases. But then if somebody wants to inquire about rare disease, they don't have it unless until they go to the portal, which unfortunately doesn't have a lot of information and a lot of scraping happens to it. So I was thinking that maybe from a hospital ecosystem, we create these services agents so that people can understand that, okay, on this particular hospital, these are the certain rare diseases that can be treated, or they have funding that could be treated. And it could be kind of a very needed thing, because few of the cost for that for multiple sclerosis, they cost about in Indian rupees close to 4 to 5 crore. And if you look into the rare disease platform or the rare disease, the government side, it's kind of very scary to see the amount that people are having to pay. So I thought like it could be an easy thing that where the research is happening, because a lot of the research is happening on tests, which a lot of people don't know because they actually go to the one which is they're centrally hosted. Just a thought about it.
Absolutely. I think that sounds great. Let's do it. I think as Shantanu and I were also mentioning, we'll also have hopefully this demo of local restaurants in the Cambridge area and how we think businesses can benefit from Nanda as well. So it would be great to discuss both these, I think, in the next office hours. So let's work towards that. I completely agree.
Thank you.
I have another proposal. After what Krishnanuda told us, is India has a lot of doctors and very efficient doctors, but the doctor to patient ratio is, abysmal, dangerously abysmal. And the good doctors are in very high demand, and 50, 100,000 people are around them. So can we do one thing, that these doctors have a huge experience base and knowledge base, put that on the Nanda server, make agents around it, and put them on the virtual versions of them on a subscription, so that a lot of people can go to them as the agent version of them, and have a first point of contact through the screen. So a lot of basic problems can be solved through that, through their experience, and the doctors get an additional way of exposing to the new diseases and all, and the patients get the best care they can deserve through WhatsApp only, or any chat interface, because WhatsApp is the distribution of WhatsApp is in India is a very big thing.
Yeah,
And
I think that's also a very cool idea. Absolutely. I think we do think that uh, sort of knowledge-based services. This can include medical services. This can include maybe legal.
legal,
It can include some other things as well. Would benefit
teaching,
a lot by having virtual agents. And of course, as you mentioned, they can be monetizable, accessible. So yeah, absolutely. All this is very, very valid points that are all possible. Uh, One of the things that is one of the critical aspects of this idea that you mentioned is actually the development of the agent itself. So building this medical agent, also I think medicine itself is a regulated space for the right reasons. Uh, Folks giving medical advice itself is uh, at least I think everywhere is regulated pretty carefully for the right reasons. So that's some of
what
the things.
about primary healthcare? What about primary healthcare? Because whether to take
I,
paracetamol
I'm
or
not
not.
I'm not completely sure how the regulations are in India with respect to this. I know in the US it is pretty stringent in terms of FDA guidelines.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the same in India also, right? You can't give out advice except for maybe about OTC drugs, but that also does, if you are putting it as a service, then that gets kind of under the purview.
So I think these are all great applications. What we could do is we can show like a sort of almost like a synthetic doctor just to show what uh, the potential is over here, and we can build from there. But I completely agree. I think there will come a time when these are all uh, obvious and very important applications.
I mean, if you want to do a medical one, the use case or the way to implement it would be to partner with a doctor, and set up the agent as an assistant to the doctor, in a way, or something that the doctor can supervise and just make sure that the response is regulated. But that's about it. You can do that. It's just that you'll have to build that loop.
Got it. So that there has to be like a very clear accountability trace, is what you're saying.
So it's like a cursor to the doctors. Means ultimately the final signature will be from the approval will be from the doctor, but the whole analysis and everything diagnosis will be done by the agents and presented with the solutions. Doctor selects the final things.
Correct.
Pradyumna, given that we have the class already started,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe what you should do, collect all the feedback. I will leave now because
Okay.
it's already 10 minutes later the class. But if someone is collecting all the feedback, we can come back for a longer office hours. Maybe not on a Thursday because Thursday we have classes, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
um,
We don't need to wait another week for that. Like I think folks might like play around with this over the weekend. So maybe we can do beginning of next week.
yeah.
So we can do that. By the time we'll also have our deep technical explainer video also out. So if folks have questions on that also, we can take those also.
All right. I am signing off. Pradyumna, you can finish whenever it gets done.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. We are looking forward to seeing you soon, and let's build some applications. The value of the registry will not come from having a registry sitting around the world and not necessarily using that for communication or building applications, right? It will only take off when you have applications around the world. For example, the local one in Cambridge, and the reason I'm excited about a local application in Cambridge, because there's an app called Facebook, which also started as a local application in Cambridge in Harvard, and most of you have heard of it. So Cambridge has a history of building apps locally and then sort of taking over the global ecosystems. And likewise, what our objective and aim and goal and dream in India is that if we can get 500 or 1,000 servers in India getting set up, we as a country pioneered DPI, pioneered other. We have taken leadership in decentralized systems long before decentralized systems or decentralized AI systems were evoked, right? There's no reason why India cannot be the beachhead for Nanda and why you cannot have, for example, local kirana shops being connected. One of the ways to, and I think Chandramoli spoke about it, one of the ways to think about it, for example, how do you counter the 10-minute delivery apps, right, which are essentially uh, causing a lot of angst in the kirana shops. Their sales are falling significantly. It's done there in architecture you can use to build low cost communication protocols with the customers and with these kirana shops and make it more efficient. There are many India specific use cases one can think of, and if one or more of them take off, I can see multiple startups being built in the next few years based on our protocol.
Just like Kirana to drone to doorstep. That can also be a use case.
Correct. Correct. You can see
Yeah.
if we sit down just on use cases next week, maybe, and if all of you can come up with one or two use cases, we could come back with something pretty significant scale. Agentic world is, 10 years from now, you probably have, somewhere between tens of billions to trillions of agents um, controlling all aspects of our life. I mean, when the call was going on, what I was struggling with, the fact that I have three different calendars and, an MIT calendar, a personal calendar, and a third calendar. And we are trying to sort of consolidate the calendars and the requests from multiple people to meet and so on and so off, right? All of these will become agentic. Very simple use case, but takes a lot of my time in the morning. All of these will become very simple use cases going forward once the agentic world takes over. So it's not incomprehensible. You can have 10, 20, 30, 40, right? Agents, each for each very specific cases. And there could be trillions of such agents. And given India's ability to build, um, we build software as a service, and we'll probably flip the paradigm. We'll do a service as a software. The software layer will stay at the bottom, and the services will still be the premium. So think about services as a software as a new paradigm and start thinking about building the new um, pieces of software infrastructure, Nanda could be a great way to get that started.
Sandra, before we jump off, I just wanted to kind of add to what you said that we already have ONDC. I'm sure you are familiar with that,
I know
right?
NDC.
And I was thinking, and I still need to crystallize this. So probably the next week session, I will be have a better thought process around it. But we or Nanda can be the AI delivery for every business that is registered on ONDC, right? Businesses come and services come and register onto ONDC, right? And all of them will need a communication channel to communicate with their customers. So if we can become the complementary to ONDC to provide the communication channels or provide the AI services, right? Each of these businesses are going to need AI services for customer engagement being one, right? But managing their business being other, managing their inventory being third, right? All of those use cases for all of these businesses that are coming onto ONDC, Nanda can be the supportive registry that helps and empowers.
I'm so glad you're thinking that way, exactly the way you're talking about it a couple of days back with Ramesh, who unfortunately is not here and is traveling to the West Coast and all that wonderful stuff. But this could be a big way to do that. Uh, the big beachhead for Nanda. And as I said, you can think about the next generation of startups. Nanda could be the backbone of it. With that, I will definitely have to sign off. The class has begun 15 minutes back. Pradyumna, you carry on.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Bye,
Shantanu.
guys.
You. I don't know if we have any other questions, but we can. Oh, I think there's a raised hand from Jack, uh, Smart Edge.
Yeah. So I'm Dolly Basin, and I've just posted my comment on your last conversation. Kirana Pro is one of the new startup that I'm mentoring, and he is also a MIT he won a MIT Young Innovator Award in 2011, and he's actually working with ONDC uh, on actually helping the Kirana store people to really be on the net, in the sense that currently everything is being done through large organized players. All the people who are actually running small kirana shops are being left behind, and they are going to be really out of business because of it. So he's bringing them all together, and already last 3 months he's rolled out his services in Bangalore and some of the other small towns. I'm wondering whether we could use that as one of the use cases in the Nanda registry.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think it's a great point. This is, I think, what Shantanu was referring to, Chandamoli was referring to as
Yeah,
well.
that's right. Yeah.
So absolutely, I think it would be great to explore all of these ideas.
Right.
And we can think about how we as this group over here can plant the seeds to demonstrate it, to kickstart it for some small group or organization, which is exactly what we are trying to do here with Cambridge and the local restaurants. And
Yeah.
I'm confident that once we are able to take that, we can see the vision, and I'm sure that if we can demonstrate that on the platform, show the use cases, I think it will be a slam dunk. I completely agree.
Great. Great. Look forward to really contribute whatever we can from here in India.
Absolutely. I think we are very, very excited for all the contributions that will come in from India, because as Shantanu was saying, there are so many rich, unique use cases uh, in the Indian context that are likely to be enabled by such a platform, such a protocol and infrastructure like Nanda. And really, the sky is the limit over here. So uh, it would
Another
be
part is there that I would like to elaborate on is government buy-in. The reason UPI is a success because government pushed it and still sponsors it through taxpayer money and in PCI. The reason ONDC is there because government wants it. So how can I incentivize the local politician and the central politicians to actually push for Nanda, so that it also gives them their personal interest, caters to their personal interest in some way or the other, because with that only we can actually spread this technology as fast as possible in India.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I think the first step for us will have to be to, yeah, I think completely agree. I think at some point there has to be regulatory buy-in. You're kind of touching upon it on the example with the doctors as well, and so many other things. Yeah, I think first step for us is to show how useful and how broadly applicable this idea of Nanda is. And for folks from India, to show how useful it is in the Indian context. And I'm confident that once we are able to show these applications, these demonstrations, that all of these other dominoes will fall later. But I think, Krishnendu, I don't know if you have some specific thoughts as well.
Yes, so while we're talking about such great problems, I'll just quickly tell you that from a startup context, right? Like what is happening right now, that a lot of companies and startups which are working on the agent side, from the consumer tech as well, there is a huge growth in the recent 6 to 7 months on the TTS side, which is text to speech and a complete STS pipeline. I think Nanda can hold a very good thing because this was with the government ecosystem. I was having a chat like 3 months back, and they wanted to have a proper TTS pipeline. Now, no one company has all the things. Like Bhashini, I don't know whether you know about this from the TT, like from the speech to speech or text to speech models that have been developed for Indian context. There are certain startups that they are doing very good on, let's say, Marathi, because there's so many languages. So there are a lot of startups who have done very good on a particular language. Why don't we enable Nanda so that it goes over there as a request? Nanda processes it and say that, okay, this TTS is the best one to come back because it's on English. This is the best one which should come back on Hindi. That's the best one which has created a benchmark on Bengali, or that's the best one which has come from Tamil. In that way, each of these TTS do not need to be centrally hosted. And because it's a compute based, not everybody can handle that much of it. And not every model provider have that much of accuracy from that. I think this could be a great thing, and we should have that thing enabled. What do you think?
Love it, love it. I think basically the core tenet of decentralization of compute and decentralization of access.
Exactly.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think these are the applications where Nanda and even the internet, right, shines the most.
Exactly.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So Exonet is Exonet and other decentralized AI platform. They are trying to do the same thing, that I have my compute overhead and you can use my GPU compute. But that was to solve the compute. Right now, the thing is that I have an agent on that compute, right? I'm sitting with like H100 clusters, which is going to serve a TTS pipeline for 2 or 3 languages where we have created a benchmark. So it should come to me, but then there should be a protocol defined that, okay, let them handle this particular use case of the problem because they are the best into from a benchmark and they have the available compute power. And I think if you create a Nanda specification protocol on that part, where we also add a compute specification, whether the provider of the MCP server is backed with the HPC or a distributed load, then that particular throughput can go through that. So I think that will be the true epitome of what we need to have as a decentralized compute.
Completely agree. So I think we were so one of our collaborators in Switzerland at EPFL is actually looking at uh, sort of not, of course, not the text to speech problem specifically, but the uh, decentralization of compute using Nanda agents. and how can you decide which sort of compute subcluster to access, depending on load, capability, load balancing, all enabled by Nanda. So I think yeah, all of these are applications that are very, very exciting. Exciting. We are looking into some of these at least, and yeah.
Exactly. So I'm building on something. So maybe I can show it in the next office hour or maybe after that. So all my compute happen on open source model. So I have a DeepSeek. I run everything. So I've got three servers with three GPUs. So what I'm going to do is I want to show that there'll be one URL which is going to hit and it will go to Nanda. And Nanda will define, I have to sit with you separately for that to understand. Like Nanda should define that this particular, request should be handled by this particular agent because this has the available server as well as the reasoning model that can answer it. So, and all of this is at the back end will happen on a local, open source model. And even the agent which I'm building for it, because I've used the MCP, which is using Llama API and Llama CPP. So we are going to get to that aspect as well from a technical point, where we say that it's not just Anthropic or it's not just OpenAI. You bring your own cluster, you build your own machines, and you have three to compute, and your client is somewhere which is also built on, let's say, like a Llama 3.2 or whatever model that you're using, and you're still able to use it so that we can have a actual, distributed decentralized node. So I'm more than happy to show that as well, from a tech perspective. But I would need like 2 weeks for that to set it up on Nanda because I have it on MCP, but I have to set it up on Nanda. Let's have a chat on that because I think from a compute perspective, that should be a very good case study and a very good use case scenario where we say that how we are saving a lot of compute power and how we are enabling a lot of startups which are sitting with the right compute power, but they don't have the visibility because they don't have the right marketing channel. So Nanda could be the handshake protocol on it, where it knows you have the compute power and you are able to do it. So if we can do it like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Let's chat. And, we'll make this possible as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
And as we were discussing about compute, actually in Kolkata, I have access to one of the biggest system integrators of Calcutta who are making edge prosumer devices which can be used for inferencing, X-ray. And I used to work with them as a marketing head, and we have actually made multi GPU setups and made AI systems and machine learning systems with them. So if somebody wants to set up their own local home servers or office servers, I can talk to them and get the things going from that point of view. So from the hardware to the whole stack, even hosting those things and all, it may help them.
Not only that, look, I will tell you a real problem, what is happening today, right? Like, it's not about who owns the compute. There is more to that. And I think, why I'm interested so much in Nanda, because before Nanda, right, you didn't have like a market, like people always confuse Nanda as a marketplace. But for me, what I'm thinking, and this is what I need the compute thing as well, as an entity or as an attribute in the API, which should be there from the agent provider, which Nanda will just hold, right? Because let's say that agent to agent communication through Nanda. For example, I as a client want, my client is basically saying that I want to do any kind of homomorphic encryption on some data point, right? And before that, my actual requirement is I want to profile something on a medical document and maybe codify it. But after codification, I just want to make sure that some kind of homomorphic encryption should happen. Now, one of the agent which is there, which is going to use it, the agent should call the other agent through data. So the agent itself, so I'm not going to call one agent. Now, my job will be to just call one agent through Nanda, which is on the summarizer or which is on to codification. But the codification agent in itself will go back to Nanda, see that where they can use a homomorphic encryption which is verified, and they use the service because encryption normally takes a lot of compute. I'm just giving a compute example. this ecosystem where I can, for a service itself, for example, I have a contract with someone, I'm taking that help, but then I also want to compute, so I'm going to take the compute from other agent. The moment this happens, then there's a shared economy model, so that I'm not just earning. Maybe I'm earning it from, let's say, Pradyuman has this entire thing where he's the client and I'm the provider. So I'm earning, let's say, $5 from Pradyuman for that. But for me, I don't have the right compute. And from that $5 which I'm earning from Pradyuman, I give $2 to the agent whose main work as an agent registered in Nanda is to provide compute. And my agent is going to communicate with them and I give $2 to them. So there's a shared economy model as well. And I think if you present the right pitch that how compute plays in and plugs in, there is a lot of compute power. There's a lot of things where people can just show us that, take my compute or run it on my server and get the result out.
And as Nanda is infinitely scalable and also can fit into your own PC, the latency and the scale of servers can be malleable. It's like your own Xerox shop to a whole big data center. Everybody can have host the infrastructure in part or in whole. So it is actually democratizing the whole compute infrastructure and intelligence infrastructure around the world and in India also.
Absolutely. All right. So I think we are
A lot of interesting ideas, and I think the last bit on the democratization and sharing the compute, that's a big one, and I think that was the major driver as well for decentralization and using the distributed compute power. I think we need to, in our next office hour, we probably should have some ideas, deep dive into some of these and see how people can take that further, right? Like a lot of good ideas, but I think the best thing that will happen out of Nanda is that we are able to launch something, a new startup, a new framework. So I think we are on top of the hour. I'm sure most of you have already signed up through that Nanda India WhatsApp group. If not, do sign up. And we can discuss in there for our next office hour planning. Pradyumna, I'll also get in touch with you and we can plan for the next office hour.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This was very exciting. I think I really loved the ideas session that we had at the end. So let's do that. Or I think we will come with a demo as well for the next office hour session. I think Krishnendu will also come with a demo, and it would be great if everyone who attends the session also comes with an idea. Honestly, the more outrageous the idea, the better, because we really want to enable what hasn't been possible with the web of web pages by using this web of agents now. So with that being said, thank you so much and see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Pradyumna, especially for your time. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.